Okay, for the Illustrator project, we're going to be still focusing on music like we were in the past, but you're going to take the same concept that you were used for your Photoshop assignment and you're going to go further with it, okay? So you don't have to like take what you did in Photoshop and make it in Illustrator, but you're going to take the same kind of concept. So since we're doing music for this, then you're going to, musician or the band or the concert or the album or the type of music or whatever you were using for your Photoshop, you're still going to take into Illustrator. Okay, and then we're going to create a t-shirt based on that concept. So I'm going to show you a couple different ideas, and then I'm going to show you in this video how to take your mock-up. We have a t-shirt mock-up that I gave you and how to put your design onto that mock-up. You're going to end up turning in your Illustrator design, so your actual Illustrator file to me, as well as you're going to turn in the Photoshop file. So you're going to flatten it and turn it into a JPEG. I'm going to walk you through that whole process and kind of show you. But first I wanted to kind of show you a couple different examples. So these are the examples that I did put into the module for right now. Is I have this like Drake shirt, and you can see, it's kind of more vectorish. It looks almost like a drawing. I did a Rolling Stone shirt, so you can see these aren't photographs, they're actual images that are created. And then the same thing with this little Swiftie shirt. So you can tell it's her, but it's definitely an illustration of her. Now, to get some motivation or some inspiration, what I suggest that you do is you can go to Google and you can Google band t-shirts. I actually typed in most iconic band t-shirts of all time. You can go in by one specific person. So if you knew you wanted to do the Rolling Stones, for example, which was one of them that I just showed you, then you could type in Rolling Stone t-shirts. You don't want to mimic what they've already done, but you want to kind of tie it into something maybe that they've already done if you're working with a specific musician. Okay, so I typed in this into Google and I got 13 of the most iconic and best band t-shirts by mixdownmag.com. So I was just going to go through them and kind of show you a few different ones. Like this one would be an easy one to make in Illustrator. You use some gradients, use some color shapes. So that one would work. This one has a lot of detail to it, but you could use something like this very well. This one's a little simple. I'd like you to put a little bit more creativity into it since it is a graphic design class. You could do something like this where it makes it look more like a hand drawing. Or this one's the same thing. Another good example is the Led Zeppelin shirt. Again, I would like you to do something more than just text. This one's kind of fun and silly. This would be a good example of it. Okay, so to give you to kind of give you some ideas, but like I said, look up your musician, your band, maybe try and like represent the music if you're doing just the music itself. Now, when you're creating your design in Illustrator, because this does have to be designed in Illustrator, so there should be no raster images, so all vector images. Okay, so if you want to, let's say for this one, I actually did use a coloring sheet. So if I close all this other stuff, I did use a coloring sheet and then I kind of drew over it. If you want to do something like that, you can, but you have to close the raster when you're done, okay? So this is actually a design that I did for the Vans shoes that I have some of my other classes do. They design a pair of tennis shoes. So I'm just going to take the same kind of concept and I'm just going to put it on a t-shirt today to show you how to do it. Okay, so you're going to go in and you should actually, my shape is not right. Your shape should be an 8x8 square. Now, something to keep in mind when you're designing for t-shirts though, is that you don't want to design all the way up to the edges. That's actually why I have you do a square. For some reason, when we do rectangles, you can this is designed in a rectangle. You can tell it's very rectangle shaped. We have a long piece in the middle, and I mean, I'm keeping it kind of tight on the sides. So by doing something that's a square, you don't go edge to edge on any of the sides. So you want to kind of keep the design in the middle of it. because otherwise when you put it on a t-shirt, then you're just going to have this great big square on the chest of the t-shirt or on the back of the t-shirt. So keep that in mind. You want to think about the flow of it. Another thing is when you're working in Illustrator, I have no background right now. You do not want a background. You only want to create your design. If you put a background color in here, when you transfer it over to Photoshop, into the t-shirt mock-up, then you're going to have again, a great big square on your chest. And the colors, for some reason, when you're working in Illustrator and when you're working in Photoshop, don't always align perfectly. Even if you type in the numbers, and get the exact like Pantone colors, they won't perfectly line up sometimes. Plus, the t-shirt mock-up has some shading and stuff on it. So we're just going to do background color fully in Photoshop. Okay. You will get to pick what color t-shirt you put this on. Don't worry, but we'll do that in Photoshop. Okay. So let's keep moving forward. So we're going to take this, and I want the skull. I don't want the flowers. So I'm just going to close the 2 flowers for right now. And I'm going to open everything else. Whoops. Wrong button. There we go. Everything's selected. So now I can use my selection tool and draw a great big square over this head. And I can do Control C or Command C if you're working on a Mac. And that's going to copy it. And then in Canvas, I actually put in there this document. So you're going to go ahead and download this document. You will open it in Photoshop. I always have somebody that tries to open it in Illustrator. It does not work. So don't even try. Okay, so open it in Photoshop. Let me move this over here some more. Okay, then you're going to come in here and you're going to see that this is made out of smart objects. So right here, it says your design goes here. This is where we're going to put the design. So I'm going to double click on this little thumbnail. So if you see my little cursor right here, I go right on that one. I'm going to double click and it's going to open up a new tab and it says your design goes here, 1.psb. PSB is the smart object, okay? And I'm going to paste this in here, Control V or Command V, and I want to make sure I choose smart object. And then unclick add to my current library. So don't worry about it going into your library, just do smart object. Hit OK. Now, the reason we're putting this in here as a smart object, I will show you in just a second. So you're going to close the eye on the first one. Your design goes here. Here is my design, so I can, size it a little bit. Now, I'm not worried about it touching edge to edge here because I'm not going edge to edge on the side, so it's still not going to give it that square feel. Now, if I was doing an image that looked more like that, then you can see it's going to give it a much boxier feel when I put it onto the shirt. So since I'm not doing that, I'm just going to leave it, and I'm going to go ahead and set it. Check mark. There we go. So now this is what's going to go on the front of my shirt. On yours, I do want you to include either text or logo for the band or the musician. If you're just doing music, you can make up some kind of little logo if you want to put on there, or you can put like, jazz or rock and roll or whatever you want to put on there so that but you do have to have text on the shirt and you do have to kind of identify what we're looking at. Okay, so this is going to be my layer, and you could even do the text right in here if you want it to, or you can do it on the actual shirt itself. Okay, when you get this the way you want it, you're going to hit the X right here. And it's going to say, do you want to save it? You're going to say yes. And now it's on my shirt. Now, before we change the shirt color, let's talk about why we did it as a smart object when we moved it over. So I'm looking at this and I'm like, I really like this, but I plan on putting it on a orange shirt, or I plan on putting it on, I really wanted to do a purple shirt, let's say, because orange and purple sometimes can really, really clash with each other. So I know I want to do a purple t-shirt. So the orange on my skull, I want to change it up a little bit. You can go all the way back to that original Illustrator file, come in here and like change, ungroup it and do all this to it and, mess around with it and play with it and, change this from orange and then recopy it and go back to Photoshop and repaste it. But that's a lot of extra work. Plus, then you're changing your original artwork. So what we're going to do is by making this a smart object, I can now come over here and click on this smart object again, the one that we originally did. Your design goes here, and it opens it back up like this. Now you'll see there's a little smart object icon right here on this layer, and I can double click on that one. If you notice now I'm back in Illustrator. It's a new tab. It's called Vector Smart Object. Here's my original. Here's the Vector Smart Object. So now I can just come in here and I can be like, I don't want this to be orange. I'm going to change the color of it to, let's go here. I'm going on to put it on purple. So I want it a yellow. And then maybe my stroke, I'm going to take my stroke to a darker yellow. Okay. So there's my stroke. And then I would have to come in and, do all of this to change it. Let's just cheat do. There's my, yeah. I'm going to leave those orange and I'll just come down here and I'll change this to a yellow. And I can just go right to my eyedropper, click right there. Go on isolation mode, and there he is. And not all of this changed to that darker. So I can change this. There. Oh, I messed it up. I was on the wrong layer. Okay, let's go back and redo this. So I'm going to change this one to yellow. And then change my stroke. Let's just change it to black to make it easy. And then I'm going to come down to this one. Double click on it, and I'm going to change this one to match the top one. And then I'm going to change the stroke to black. Yeah, there we go. Now it's looking kind of like what I want. Okay, so you can see now I can change it. Then I just come up here and I close it and hit yes. It takes it a second. Now when I go back to Photoshop, bam, it changes it automatically for me in Photoshop. And if I save it again and I go back, now you can see that it changes that. This comes in really handy if like you just notice something really small too, like, oh man, these leaves are just the wrong shade of green. I can just go back in there, click over to it, goes into it. And again, it did not damage my original artwork, which I closed by accident. So that comes in really super handy. Now for your t-shirt, maybe you see this and you're like, I really, like I said earlier, I want it on a purple t-shirt. I don't want it on a blue t-shirt. So you can come right over here and it says right here in this one, it's change background color. And then you have change color here. So you can change your shirt color here. You can change the background color if you want it to right there. But you're just going to select this layer and you're going to click on this little camera. And right here is your colors. And you can come into your color picker and you can change it to whatever color you want. Now, I will tell you, if you pick something like white, let me do this, FF, whoops, FF, FF, FF. The problem with this is if you pick something like white or you pick a paler color, it does have a shadow overlay on it, and you can just turn that shadow overlay off and you can see your actual color right here. So now it looks like a white t-shirt. This might be one of those times though, if you decide to use a white t-shirt, that maybe you want to change your background color to be something darker so it stands out a little bit more. Okay, so once you get the t-shirt the way you want it, and if you wanted to, you could come in here and create another layer. Try and do as much of your design in Illustrator, or do all of your design in Illustrator, including your text, and move it into this design goes here, and it's going to kind of help you keep it where you want it. If you did need to lay text over it, you would just have to make a new layer and copy it over. So you would just like, let's see, we'll go back to Illustrator. open. It's my desktop. Here he is. So, and I'll just type something in here as soon as it opens. Oh, it's open in my other version of Illustrator. Sorry. Okay, so I'm going to come in here and let's say I'm going to type just the word music. And, make it look exactly the way I want it to. And make it the size I want it. Pull it right here. And let's say I want to change the color of it to a bright green. There we go. And then I control or command C, go to Photoshop, control or command V, smart object, yes. And there it is. And then I could just, whoa, sorry about that. I could just lay it over the top of it and put it wherever I want it to go. So if I wanted something further down on my shirt, I could do that. And again, you made it a smart object, so we could just double click on the smart object over here. It's going to send me back and I can be like, that's not the right green. Change the green to something brighter. Hit OK. Close it. Do I want to save it? Yes. And then when I go back into Photoshop, now it's the right color again. Okay, so you're just going to go back and forth between the two. Once you get the shirt completely the way you want it, you're going to come over here to these little, first of all, I suggest saving it just in case anything goes wrong. You just saw my computer glitch. So just in case anything goes wrong, go ahead and save it. And then you're going to come over here to these little lines in Photoshop next to layers. And again, we need to do flatten image right here at the top on mine. I'll do flatten image, discard, yes. And then save that file, save as. Make sure you change this to a JPEG, just plain JPEG. Save it, and then that's what you're going to turn into me. So you're turning in both the files. So you're going to turn in the file of an Illustrator that looks like this. The file that's going to look like what I've been working on. And then you're also going to turn in the flattened JPEG so I can see your t-shirt and how it would look. Okay, so if you have any questions, let me know, reach out to me, and I'll be more than happy to answer them. And just as a reminder, if I said control anywhere in this video and you are working on the Macs, it's just command C, command V is copy and paste, okay? Otherwise, let me know if you have any questions, and I look forward to seeing what you guys design.